Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're continuing the NativeScript chat series where I get to chat with NativeScript community members and you get to meet them and put a face to a name. Today we're talking to Nathanael Anderson. And if you've worked with NativeScript at all, you probably worked with some of his code. I've covered some of the tools he's built, so I've talked about him on this channel before, and pretty much anybody that I know in the NativeScript community uses the tools that he's built or works with code that he's contributed. Nathanael has been around and a software developer much longer than me, and he really knows his stuff. So hopefully some of our chat will inspire you, or at least you'll learn something new today. Here's Nathanael Anderson. Hey everybody, welcome back. Alex here, and today I got Nathanael Anderson, who you might have heard about. If you've been working with NativeScript for even a little bit, you've probably heard or used a tool that Nathanael has built or used code that he has written. So he runs a consulting company called Master Technology, where he does consulting on NativeScript projects as well as other types of projects. And he also has a blog, Fluent Reports, that I've pointed to and referred to many times here as well. He writes in detail, in excruciating detail, about all the NativeScript releases, and sometimes with brutal honesty. So you can get all the nitty-gritty stuff on there. He's also the creator of a few tools that I've reviewed here on this channel, including the NativeScript Code Search tool and the NativeScript Compatibility tool, and a bunch of other useful tools that I'm sure he'll talk about. Welcome, Nathanael.
Thank you. I want to do one small clarification. I do not do any NativeScript work with Master Technology anymore. It's all through InStudio. All my NativeScript stuff is through InStudio. Master Technology does server-side stuff and other unrelated NativeScript stuff. Well, not
Got
related,
it.
I should say.
Got it. But it's all like, it's all Nathanael. All of that stuff is Nathanael. Got it. So besides NativeScript, I mean, you have a lot of experience in server-side and other technologies. What kind of dev background do you come from?
My dev background, basically, I started as a kid on a Commodore 64 and playing video games, and then wanted to learn how to do it, and got Compute magazine. If any of you guys remember that, that's a really old magazine. It's way out of date and no longer made. That they used to have like the articles in the back where you programmed it in, and that's how I learned how to do programming. From there, I jumped on to working for a company, a printing company, and worked on all their internal stuff and all sorts of customized stuff. And from there, I joined a couple other different companies and just padded out my resume basically into other areas. And so now I do everything from hardware to software and the whole gamut of things. Currently, actually the funny thing is even though this is a NativeScript talk, my most liked repo is actually completely unrelated to NativeScript. It's called Fluent Reports, which is a report writing system in JavaScript. So it's just one of those things.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Fluent Reports was like your blog name.
That is the actual site for the Fluent Reports report generator, and I had put the blog on there initially long before NativeScript existed. And I just figured since people already knew where that blog was, I just continue using it for a lot of NativeScript stuff. But I do post other things that aren't related to NativeScript on that blog.
Got it. Okay. So when you came to NativeScript, were you into NativeScript Core with TypeScript or JavaScript?
I've always been a very big JavaScript developer. I've had my run-ins with TypeScript where it's been my worst nemesis sometimes. But TypeScript offers a lot of stuff, but I happen to prefer the just plain ES6 variation of JavaScript.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So even now, even to this day, you still prefer JavaScript over TypeScript?
Yes, that has to do really with the editor. PHP Storm, which is the editor I use, actually can use the typings inside JavaScript without a problem. So you still get all the benefits of TypeScript in that regard for like the helpful parameters and all that stuff, and it even warns you when you're putting the wrong information, but all in pure JavaScript. You don't have to do it. You don't have to create any TypeScript. And so I find that my development runs a lot faster if I don't have to run it through the TypeScript compilers to compile my code down to ES5, which is what ends up happening with your most NativeScript apps with TypeScript. So that's just me. I prefer pure ES6 and don't get the TypeScript compiler involved in it, so it doesn't cause me any issues.
Got it. Well, I won't argue with that. TypeScript has its setup issues sometimes, of course, but overall, my favorite flavor is, of course, TypeScript, and I keep talking about it, and I love TypeScript, so I will fight to the death with all those compilation errors until I get TypeScript working, damn it.
I don't like those errors, so I avoid them.
Yeah. I know you have written a lot of NativeScript plugins, and you even run Pro Plugins, which is the premium service that serves up well-maintained plugins. Do you have a favorite plugin?
Favorite plugin out of all of them is probably my SQLite. I use it in a ton of different things, but that's a hard one because there's a couple of my plugins that are just like used everywhere in every one of my applications. My platform CSS one is almost, I can't think of an app I haven't used it in. Even a Vue app that I write in some Vue apps, I use it in because up until NativeScript 6.2, you didn't have any easy way to find out whether you're in landscape or portrait and change the CSS based off of that. And you didn't have any way of knowing if you're a phone or tablet. NativeScript 6.2 actually added that, which is kind of making the plugin kind of more obsolete, which is fine. I'm glad to obsolete plugins, but up until that point, this was the way to do it. And I use so much CSS to change the screen. So when you flip the landscape, the font might get smaller for something so that everything fits properly.
Yeah, those are good additions that 6.2 added. You've written a lot of tools also for NativeScript. Do you have a favorite tool that you use even to this day?
Oh, Search Code. Search Code, hands down. I mean, even when I'm writing new plugins, I'll go, okay, I did this somewhere. Where did I do this? Okay, let me do a real quick search. Oh yeah, that's how I did it. And so Search Code is indispensable in my opinion for writing plugins.
Yeah, I've used Search Code quite a bit also. And I have a video here for anybody that hasn't seen it. I do the full introduction to Search Code, the tool, so you can find that here on YouTube as well. What do you use for your hardware? Do you go through and develop on a simulator first and then you deploy to a device and test it out? Or do you deploy immediately and test things on the device as you develop?
I almost always deploy first the simulators because then I don't have to hook up the cables to the phones. And then once I get to a point where it looks good on it, I'll try it on multiple size simulators just to verify screening. And then I actually have real devices like the Samsung S9 and 8. You know, I've got a really cheap, really slow phone because I use that to test performance. And then on the iOS side, I have a tablet and a phone, so that way I can test both size screens and make sure everything works properly. Yeah.
Speaking of performance, do you have any performance tips or wisdoms that you want to give to everybody?
That's a hard question. Performance is really dependent on the application. One thing that I do notice is, especially in loops, don't try allocating lots of stuff in loops. If you can allocate the values outside the loop and then use them inside the loop, it makes a lot more performance things. I see so often people allocate new items inside the loop, and every single time it does that loop, it's reallocating that same item, which means you're getting more memory used and more GC pressure, which then has to be dumped later after the loop's done, and so you hit a performance there. So that's one easy performance tip that I can give.
And we're not talking about just JavaScript objects. We're talking about instantiating maybe UI elements that actually instantiate native UI elements as well. And that's
Correct.
Where you get the big hit.
Any objects you don't have to do inside of a loop, you try not to do inside a loop. If you have to do it, obviously you have to, but there are some cases where you can do it outside the loop. I was working on a charting plugin yesterday, and the colors for it, my initial design, I had put all this stuff in, and okay, now I need to add the different data sets, and I put a for loop around it. And so I was just recreating those colors every single loop, and I'm going, oh, what an idiot. And move it out, and that actually sped it up because it created the colors all first, and then it just assigned them to everything that it needed. So things like that, it could be small values, but every single instruction it runs every single time you go through that loop. So whatever you can pull outside of loops is always good.
Yeah, a good optimization technique. Thanks for sharing that. What about learning new tech? You know a lot of tech already. Do you still learn new tech? I know you recently have been looking at Flutter. What do you use to learn new tech? Videos, reading?
For learning new stuff, I've pretty much read blogs, read articles. I don't watch very many videos. Sometimes I do with them sped up, just because I just don't like wanting to spend that time just trying to get to the meat of it, where it's an article, I can just zoom to the spot and go, okay, this is the code, how does that work? So a lot of times it's blogs and documentation for it, for whatever it is. And yeah, I love new tech. I've got on my desk at home a brand new barcode scanner that I'm going to be writing a NativeScript plugin for, and a brand new RFID scanner that I'm going to be writing a plugin for. But I haven't touched either one of them.
Wow.
So yeah, love new tech.
Sounds like you're the hardware NativeScript wizard.
I do love hardware because it is fun to tinker with and try to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah. So when you're not developing, when you're sitting, away from your computer, what are you doing?
If I'm sitting away from my computer, I could be either playing board games with my kids. I could be reading a book on my phone, typically, or watching movies with my kids and family. Those would probably be the three main things I do besides shopping, which everybody has to do. But that would be what I would do away from my computer.
Yeah, family time.
Yep.
All right, Nathanael. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts on NativeScript, your technology wisdom, and it's always good to see new tools written when they come out. When you announce new tools, it's always fun to see them, and it's always a pleasure using your innovative tools. Appreciate you coming on the show, and good to see you.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.